Welcome to this week in the world of wrestling.
Welcome to TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John, that's my cohort and commentary Ashton, and this is our Lucha Underground review. And it just gets so repetitive. But yet again this week, episode 14 of Lucha Underground of Season 2, absolutely spectacular. If you want to talk about the most exemplary hour of television on a weekly basis, and notice I said television and not pro wrestling, and folks, for me, it's not even close. I mean, just consistently blows everything else out of the water. We had two stupendous matches, a cinematic segment at the end, which blew my mind. And really what was so brilliant about this hour, and I want to make sure to highlight this, because sometimes I feel like while we do give it credit, maybe it's not enough. This hour really demonstrated television structured right, because the pacing of these matches, when commercial breaks were taken, the camera work, the effects, just everything. This was television at its absolute finest. And Lucha Underground, man, not just in pro wrestling, but just in the world of television in general, I really believe is changing the game. What did you think of it?
This was such a fun episode. Normally, I'm not a huge fan of wrestling shows that have only matches on them, but when the matches are this fun and this exciting and it really did kind of feel like a pay-per-view, because both of the big matches that we had tonight were blow-offs to huge angles, it makes it so much more worth it.
Yeah, blow-offs to huge angles with huge stakes attached to them. You figure the one match we got was for an Aztec Medallion, the third person guaranteed to be in Gift of the Gods 2. And then the second matchup, 4 teams, it was the conclusion of the Trios Championship Tournament Finals with the belts at stake. So not only is it a show packed, with great matches, even though it's only 2 and they both get a nice substantive amount of time, but there are legitimate reasons for these matches taking place, so it's not just wrestling for wrestling's sake. I'm telling you, on every front, man, Lucha Underground just kills it. I know I'm preaching to the choir here. I know to the people listening, I'm preaching to that choir too. It's just incredible to me. Absolutely incredible.
Yeah, definitely. The 2 matches that we got were A+ matches. The cinematic we got was an A+ cinematic, and we even got a little hint of Dario Cueto, and you can't have a perfect episode of Lucha Underground without Dario Cueto.
And I'll tell you, for as good as Raw has been lately, because I even enjoyed this past Monday, I mean, those 2 matches in that 1 hour blew all of the matches we got on Raw in 3 hours. I mean, easily to me. It wasn't even close.
We haven't gotten a match on WWE television or pay-per-view that was as good as either one of the matches that we got tonight for all of 2016 so far.
Yeah, I mean, that, absolutely unreal. So
I would say that maybe like one NXT match, a small handful of New Japan matches, and obviously other Lucha Underground matches have upped the 2 matches that we got tonight, but WWE's main roster has offered nothing.
Exactly. I really have to wholeheartedly agree with you. And with that sentiment in mind, let us get right into our Lucha Underground review. And Ashton, we open up, we get a little bit of music to kind of settle us in, and we go to commentary, they give a rundown, and then we see the steel cage, so we know that this cage in a cage matchup, for an Aztec Medallion, is going to be our opener. I honestly thought it was going to be the main event because it was a steel cage and all this and that. No, it's going to be our opening contest, Johnny Mundo versus Cage. And dude, I mean, here's the thing. You said, for you personally, that King Cuerno versus Johnny Mundo in Season 1 was, I believe you've even said, like, the best steel cage match you've ever experienced. I think for me, this was the cage match that fills that role. This was so much fun.
Yeah, I mean, just to be clear, I said that was the best cage match that I'd seen in a really long time.
Right, in a really long time.
I think as far as superlatives go, Grave Consequences to this date is the best casket match I've ever seen.
Right.
But, I mean, I've seen cage matches that were better. I can't think of any right now, but I'm sure I have, than Mundo Cuerno. But yeah, I agree that this cage match definitely one-upped that cage match.
Yeah, I mean, this was that cage match for me. Again, to use your word, just the best cage match I've seen in a really long time. And I loved Mundo Cuerno. I did, really, I've watched it multiple times. Great matchup. But this, especially because of the heel work of Mundo and Taya and just cage working Technico, it just absolutely works. I think, they played so well off of each other, and I think that really accentuated the importance and the gravity of the steel cage. I think more so than the prior bout being Cuerno and Mundo. I just feel like the character work in this matchup was just a few notches above. I mean, they did everything. You had Taya really being involved, sticking her nose in it, kendo stick here, steel chair there. Cage being, with how Cage looks and how Cage operates, him having a high threshold for pain and having this, great threshold for like resiliency and this and that, it makes sense. To me, it never really crosses into that Cena territory where you want to groan, because they've taken great care to make Cage look like an absolute freak. The guy just does things that would really amaze you, and the things that he's able to kick out of and endure, it's like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, he kicked out of everything tonight. Even, I think he got hit with a steel chair shot to the head, and he kicked out of that.
Yeah, he kicked out of that. I mean, Taya and Mundo did a double team maneuver, and they both got on top of Cage and tried to kick out of that.
Yeah, that's right. That double, what's it called? Moonlight Drive. That assisted Moonlight Drive.
Yeah, and speaking of, I mean, a Moonlight Drive off the top rope we got to me was the spot of the match, and I still can't wait
a Spanish fly off the top rope.
Yeah, an avalanche Spanish fly, and it just wasn't enough. And
nothing was enough.
This is how, I'm telling you, dude, and here's the thing. Cage has been on such a monster babyface run. I know this is only the third person to win a medallion because, yeah, folks, if you could tell, Cage kicking out all that, he pretty much won this damn match. He did a Steiner screwdriver on a steel chair to Mundo to end it after restraining Taya and Mundo accidentally hitting Taya with a steel chair. Hopefully that gets smoothed over well. I'm kind of worried about that. But yeah, Cage wins the third Aztec Medallion. The fan in me, obviously, guys, I'm disappointed. But looking at this more objectively and really breaking the situation down, I mean, Ashton, I'm going to call it right now. I know all the spots haven't been filled, but I'm picking Cage as an early favorite to win Gift of the Gods, too. He has been on another level since becoming Technico, and I'm almost starting to wonder if they're prepping him for a title run, or at least a title clash with Matanza, because we don't know how that whole situation's going to play itself out.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think I want to see the rest of the field before I make that call, but he's definitely the favorite so far.
Yeah, without question, dude. I mean, because here's the thing. I had a certain logic, which we'll get into that in just a little bit, about the whole trios championship matchup about, for the sake of the narrative, they may go with, this option. That clearly didn't happen. And I've been kind of having similar sentiments, if you remember, about Aerostar. And you and I were kind of talking, him having the time traveling ability, seeing the tribes. Well, maybe they'd want to give that to him. But now that don't mean shit after tonight. Because seeing what Cage did to Mundo and Taya in a steel cage, he has just been on a tear again since becoming Technico. I have to believe in my gut they're either prepping him for just a full-blown title run, period, or at least really building up the credibility, even if he ultimately fails, to have a clash with whoever the Lucha Underground champion is, and one has to presume right now it's going to be Matanza, which that match is just insane just thinking about it.
Yeah.
So,
and that's the funny thing, too, that you didn't even bring up, but you made me remember. After this match was over, because Cage won and you were all down in the dumps, I reminded you, just try and remember that even if Mundo did win and then went on to win the Gift of the Gods, he's staring Matanza in the face. You really want to deal with that?
I don't know. I mean, if you're Cage, you really don't give a damn. And that's really what his whole technical persona is.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And here's the thing, too. Cage is somebody, because we have to remember, and we have to keep this in mind, and I say this just as much for myself as anybody else. Whoever wins Gift of the Gods, too, it's not a sure thing. I mean, Fenix really had to scratch and claw because he lost it initially to King Cuerno, and he had to fight to gain it back. But Cage is a guy, I could really see him holding on to that thing, even if challengers step up to him to try and take it. So yeah, I'm pegging him as an early favorite to win this thing, and the field hasn't even been entirely set yet. That's just how beastly I think he has been in his Technico run, and honestly, he's earned it. You know, he deserves it. I think his work has been tremendous. This Cage match was tremendous. I'm just hoping that because Mundo and Taya together have been doing such quality character work in their own right, they get something cool to do at Ultima Lucha too, but that remains to be seen. I'm just wondering now, because it's only episode 14, what is their next feud going to be? Who are they going to pick a fight with next, or who's going to pick a fight with them? You know, we'll see what happens. But yeah, this was a quality matchup.
Yeah, boy, it's been so good. Just this, the honestly, even including some of the crazy exchanges that we got in the second match in the main event, my favorite exchange of the entire night was that kendo stick exchange when Mundo was dodging all of Cage's swings.
That parkour training, though, fucking
that was
that, dude.
So freaking cool, man. I loved that so much. I cannot wait for that sequence alone to get gifed on Reddit.
Oh my god, yeah, between that, the top row moonlight drive, the avalanche Spanish fly, and even some of the stuff that Cage did, don't get me wrong. I mean, he used Mundo in the early parts of this match as like a lawn dart, just launching his face and his body into the cage.
Yep.
The Steiner screwdriver was great. You know, these guys have amazing chemistry.
I'd say horrifying.
Yeah, I mean, always horror. I mean, as a Mundo fan, I definitely cried inside. It was really hard to watch, but you know, these guys have amazing chemistry with each other. And Taya, can we just mention too, one, like a boss taking that steel chair shot and just getting physically involved, and two, that cross body off the cage though, like I wanted to make sure to remember that too, because
Taya,
she did phenomenal. You know, I know you and I, we listened to an episode of Face Lock Feministas recently. And who was it that we watched that was by herself? I want to get the names right. But Lady J, thank you. Lady J predicted that Taya would eventually turn on Mundo. And I got to say, as much as I joked.
That's going to happen too.
And you know what? Just to treat it sincerely, because I know I joked when I tweeted at her, like, you hold your tongue, you know, you bite your tongue, because I do love these two together. I mean, they are really building Taya. When you look at all of her interactions, she's a balls to the wall type of woman. You know, she's ready to go out there, bust her ass, take the fight to anybody, and take the risks. Like, to me, on a face level, on a technical level, she embodies the fighting spirit that the temple looks for more than Mundo, because Mundo loved the guy to death, but again, just looking at it from a character perspective, always trying to duck a fight, always trying to fight smarter, not harder, which, I mean, I applaud him for, but you see where it's gotten him. Right. So, really, I could see, I mean, they are really setting up the groundwork whenever it happens, and here's the thing, I don't think the trigger's going to be pulled right away. I think they are going to let this build and just let Mundo's bullshit and just his miscues with Taya kind of accrue to the point where she's like, man, fuck this. I could have gotten so much farther at this point without you than I ever have with you, and we are going to get an amazing program between these two. Oh my god, I think...
Well, I don't even know if we'll get a program between these two. I think they might just have maybe not even necessarily a peaceful, but I think at the very least a mutual split.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be amicable by any means, and I have to disagree. Like, I do think it'll be a split, and it may even be...
Did we get a program between Ivelisse and Son of Havoc when they split?
No, we didn't. Well, I mean, you know, but then they ended up being forced together. You know, that was a different thing.
Right, but even if they didn't necessarily get forced together, just the way that they were being portrayed, it felt more like they wanted to avoid each other than that they wanted to kill each other. And I think that's how Mundo and Taya are going to be as well.
Yeah, but then you think about, like, because here's the thing, all of the miscues between Son of Havoc and Ivelisse almost seem more comical. You were talking with Mundo. I mean, let's just give a brief rundown here. Push Taya in front of Cage in that one matchup where she ate Weapon X. Ate a steel chair shot tonight, and I know there have been other offenses. Oh yeah, he kept tagging her in that one tag match. The Cage ended up coming out, distracting them, and that's when the crew got that win, and she ate the double team finisher while Mundo just, you know, did his thing, and he cowered away. So, like, yeah, he's really accruing that bullshit, man, and sooner or later, Taya's going to come to collect. I just envision a program between these two. If we don't get it, obviously that's fine, because they're both tremendous talents, and they'll do whatever. But if we do get a program, those matches are going to be sick, and I think they're going to tell a great story. So.
And I think the common ground here is whether we get a program or not, they're definitely not going to last the whole season.
I don't know about that. I mean, I'm inclined to agree with you with the trajectory of how everything's going, but I'm not ready to cash in that far just yet. But what I do know, and where I will put all my chips is, yeah, they are definitely setting Ty up for a Technico run in the future, because she's just too good not to. So, yeah, it should be wonderful.
Yeah, I agree. Anything else left to say about this match before we move on?
No, man, we're good.
Okay. Up next, we were about to have our ridiculous 4-way Trios Championship elimination match. But Dario Cueto comes out, and he has something to say.
Yes, he informs us that Angelico won't be competing in this match. He was involved in some kind of a tragic accident or occurrence or what have you, rushed to the hospital, so he's out of the equation. But Son of Havoc and Ivelisse will be going at it, without a partner, with a handicap. So they still have to defend their belts. They're still part of the match. There just won't be any Angelico in sight. And yeah, that definitely changes the complexion of the match, Ashton.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it immediately puts your reigning champions at a massive disadvantage.
And not only that, to your point, because I know you were very quick to raise it during live reactions, not only does it change the complexion of the match, but it adds an extra layer to just this whole situation. What happened to Angelico? What was this quote-unquote accident? Because we know Cueto has no love lost for Team Havoc, and he just hates those guys because they represent everything he doesn't want his temple to be associated with. Cueto, very snobbish. He has a perception of his temple, and when he sees people like Ivelisse, Son of Havoc, and Angelico succeed, it's just a kind of disjointing kind of moment for him.
And it even makes sense that if he wanted to prevent them from winning, that he would take Angelico out, because in the 2 big matches that he set up for them to fail against the Crew, the only reason they won was because of a big sacrifice from Angelico jumping off of his office to do something crazy.
That is an excellent point. Way to make the connection season to season.
You take that X factor away from the team, and in Cueto's eyes at least, it's just one loser who can't get the job done, even though he's flashy, and he worries more about catering to the fans than winning, and a girl who he sees as, the weak link of the team, because Cueto is like that.
Exactly. What an asshole. Excellent point all around. After that, though, we do get our formal introductions for the match. And, Ashton, how do you even dissect a match like this? This was crazy, this match.
I don't know if you can dissect it. I think you just need to take out a chainsaw and hope that you manage to cover as much as you possibly can.
Exactly, because, these guys, every single one of them really in their own way, contributed to what was a fantastic main event. And I'll tell you something, the Trios division and the Trios championships feel especially important right now. When you figure the tournament matches that we got leading up to this point, and then the championship match as kind of the punctuation to it all, god damn is it good to be a Trios champion, those belts, man, I don't think they've ever been more valuable than they are right now with performances like this.
Yeah.
Everybody wrestled out of their goddamn minds tonight. It was unbelievable. Yeah. Unbelievable.
Yeah, this match was insanity. You just had everything. You had, at the very beginning, we had some crazy, basically multiple one-on-one exchanges going on between the 4 people that were in the ring. We had Ivelisse, Mr. Cisco, I want to say Rey Mysterio, and Fenix all in the ring at the same time. It might not have been Fenix. It might have been someone else on that team, maybe PJ. There would be like Ivelisse and Mr. Cisco would like tie up and then do something, and then the other 2 would tie up and do something. Like, there was just so much going on at the same time, and this was right around the same time that you were just like, listen guys, I'm not going to be able to keep up with everything that happens in this match, and my god, were you right.
Yeah, even the cameramen, who I always feel like, and I'm not even denigrating them for this because I would have gotten fired. My camera would have been so piss poor, but even they seem like they struggle a little bit to keep up with the pace, and how could you not?
Yeah, there was one example specifically where someone was like charging into the corner and the cameraman was just a little bit slow to react, and all we really saw was like the side of the person landing in the corner.
Right.
And like, yeah, it's just there. I feel so bad for the cameramen in situations like this because, I mean, you can't. It's not a matter of if you try hard enough you can keep up with it. It's just not a thing that you can do.
No, not when you're going at this pace.
Yeah.
I mean, to say this was frenetic or crazy would be the grossest understatement I've ever uttered in the history of this program. Like, goddamn, son. They were going at lightning speed. And then that's why, I mean, I gotta say, thank goodness it was an elimination match because one, you're really able to make the match substantive and tell a great story and all this and that. But at least then you thin out the herd and you're able to slow down the tempo a little bit. Able to kind of restabilize everything. And, unfortunately, a disagreement and just a dislike that Cortez Castro and Joey Ryan have for each other, which, let's keep in mind, their other relationship outside of the temple that the believers don't know about yet because they're not privy to the cinematic segments like we are, being a viewing audience at home. They have a disagreement. I believe it was Ivelisse that cradles Cortez Castro and he gets pinned. And that's how that team gets eliminated. Now, I will be forthcoming and admit this has been my team to win for the longest time. When the match was announced, I thought they're going to win it. I think it makes sense for the narrative. Officer Vasquez, she's feeling that pressure back at the station from the mystery
Vasquez.
Man.
She's the captain.
Well, didn't I say Captain Vasquez?
You said Officer Vasquez.
My apologies. Captain Vasquez. Always proud to be corrected. Captain Vasquez, feeling the pressure from a higher up. Because just shut the investigation down. I thought, okay, well, they get this win, she'll still have something. Well, now things have gotten even worse for Captain Vasquez. Because now, not only is she being told, stay out of Boyle Heights, stay out of my jurisdiction, just stop pursuing Cueto. Now, her lead may have gone cold. Because if they would have won those trios titles, Cueto might have cozied up to him. I think he wants to have a good relationship with his champions, because it's power and prestige and all that good crap. And now she doesn't have that. So I think, honestly, while I was so one-track minded where, they've got to win, narrative, this, that, and the other, I think it makes it even more interesting because you can really feel the noose tightening around Captain Vasquez now. And, what do you do? Because when you've got people internally telling you, shut it down, and externally the investigation that you're expending all of these resources and time into, that's hit a wall. I mean, where do you go now? What do you do? So her, Officer Ryan, and Officer Castro are going to have to, Officer Reyes, I should say, are going to have to reconvene now, regroup, and just be like, okay, what do we do? Because everybody's on our ass, and you guys didn't get the job done like I wanted you to do. So it's going to be very interesting, the fallout of their elimination, all because, keep in mind, too, and Captain Vasquez wasn't going to be happy about this, they couldn't get on the same page when it mattered most. If she was angry last week, she has got to be livid this week.
Yeah, man, she would, yeah. Can you blame her, though?
No, I can't. Again, because, it just seems like, again, the noose is, closing in on her. The world's closing in on her.
It feels
and, what do you do now? And if you're, obviously, look, Cueto's still oblivious to these facts, right? We're talking about it. He doesn't know it. And, again, the believers don't know it. Just the temple in general doesn't know it. Doesn't make it any less of a shit situation. In fact, I'd say that's the only saving grace that this whole unit has for their investigation is that at least Cueto is still oblivious, so maybe they can still find another in, because it is just looking really bad now for this investigation, and Cueto might be able to walk free. And that's not even taking into account, look who he has for his muscle in case law enforcement would try and touch him. You gonna tell him he's arrested when Matanz is lurking in the shadows? I sure as shit ain't.
Dude, that's the Lucha Underground movie.
What's that? Just
the closing of the investigation on Dario Cueto and the attempt to arrest him.
Wow.
That is going to be the frickin' movie. Just a 30-minute fight scene of cops pouring into the temple and Matanza killing all of them.
I'd watch that movie gleefully, I might add. That'd be something else. And it makes sense. I think it fits perfectly with the aesthetic of the El Rey network. What better than a cop flick?
Plus, that would turn Cueto into not only the king of the temple, but the kingpin of Los Angeles.
Exactly.
If he can take out that many cops without lifting a finger, just having his brother do all the work, how do you stop that? You don't. You just kind of sit by and hide in your corner and hope that he doesn't look at you the wrong way and sick his monster on you.
Exactly. That's a great idea, though, man. I'm glad you brought that up because you may be onto something. I mean, you really were on kind of a hot streak tonight with your predictions, so no reason to question you now. So, yeah, Ryan, Castro, and Cisco, first team eliminated. So then we thinned it out a little bit, but then our next elimination came with the remnants of Team Havoc, Son of Havoc and Ivelisse. Ivelisse taking the fight to just everybody. Numbers game caught up to her, though, and then she gets pinned. And then this is where the match really, I mean, I shouldn't even say calm down because it still goes insane, but we're down to two teams, Fenix, Evans, and Black versus Mysterio, Puma, and El Dragon Azteca Jr. And these two teams have a great exchange here, Ashton.
Yeah, these guys are insane.
Unbelievable. I mean, the one spot that's just sticking out in my mind, simply because it was just so much for my mind to process, it had to make some unfortunate sacrifices.
The ridiculous satellite DDTs that got thrown around in this match.
More or less, yeah. I was going to name specifically the assisted satellite DDT between
from Puma,
yeah.
Yeah. God, that was insanity.
Jesus. Oh my God, man. And yeah, I mean, if you guys, I mean, Ashton was calling it the moment they were in this thing. I'm sure a lot of other people were too. The Dream Team wins it all, man, because a move like that was the beginning of the end. And then we get double suicide dives, from Puma and El Dragon Azteca Jr., taking out, I believe it was PJ Black and Fenix. And then Jack Evans is left alone with Rey Mysterio. Rey actually gets the pin with a split-legged moonsault. I was surprised. I thought it was going to be like a flying squirrel type maneuver or something like that, but no, split-legged moonsault gets the 3 count. And Rey Mysterio and El Dragon Azteca Jr., they win their first championships in the Temple, and this is Puma's second because he is the first ever Lucha Underground champion. And which team is going to beat these guys? Because hot damn, this is OP.
Yeah, I don't know how you beat these three. I legitimately, how do you last an entire match with these three? Because, I mean, the endurance capabilities. We know what Rey can do endurance-wise. He was the longest-lasting guy in the Royal Rumble. Freaking Puma went all night long. And El Dragon Azteca, I don't know about his endurance, but you're not going to be able to hit him. He's so freaking evasive, it's insanity.
Right. I mean, I'm already trying to think of teams that could potentially beat this team, and I really can't come up with any names sincerely. It would take one hell of an effort.
If you think about it, John, Phoenix was a big reason why that team didn't win, because they weren't all on the same page and they were distracting each other.
Right.
So maybe Jack Evans and PJ Black can find somebody that they get along with to challenge for those titles.
And I did put out some feelers, on Twitter. Maybe Johnny Mundo, Jack Evans, and PJ Black, that's their Ultima Lucha.
I was thinking Angelico. Why not Angelico? What if he comes back healthy and, I mean, Unlikely Trio don't have titles anymore. There's no real obligation for him to stick with them. He could join up with his South African buddy and his AAA teammate and kill everyone.
Maybe he'll get jaded when they lose their rematch clause, because you have to figure they still have one, even though Angelico was taken out of the game. And maybe when they lose that,
watch Cueto force them to defend it before Angelico comes back healthy.
Yeah, really. It's like
that's such a Cueto move to do.
It's like, I know you guys have a rematch clause, so I'm having you use it tonight, but Angelico still isn't back. Yeah, but you lost the titles with only the two of you, so it's only fair that your rematch be with the two of you. Keep everything level.
Yep.
Scumbag Cueto. Oh, man, what an excellent match. So, and again, the Trios division, I mean, really, the champions in Lucha Underground, you've got Matanza as your world champion, and this team is your Trios champions. If these titles don't look important, or these titles don't look like the end-all, be-all, I don't know what to tell you. Because I have never seen a more legitimate-looking roster as far as the champions go. And I mean, hell, the locker room in general, I love them and think they're insanely talented. But if you were going by, well, who are the champions? What a list. I mean, holy shit. So, congratulations to Rey, Puma, and El Dragon Azteca Jr., new Trios champions. And we'll see, who, if anybody, can dethrone these guys. So it should be fun.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, I mean, this was an amazing match, but there really isn't a lot more to talk about match-wise. The only thing that we have left is the post-credit scene, which was amazing.
Oh my god, the way this was done. Oh my god.
So, do you want me to set the scene?
You do it, brother.
All right,
you.
guys. So, you all remember last year where we got the one scene of Pentagon's master telling him that he wants Ian Hodgkinson as his next sacrifice, and Pentagon was just like, yes, I'll do it for you, master. That's the shrine that this scene took place in.
Yeah.
And Vampiro is walking around. He walks over to like the middle of the shrine, and he says, "Pentagon!" And Pentagon is in a frickin' wheelchair. He rolls out in his wheelchair, and Vampiro tells him to get up in Spanish, and he doesn't even respond. And then he says, "Get up" in English. Pentagon tries pushing himself up out of his wheelchair, but he feels like he's not strong enough to do it, and he just kind of plops back down in defeat. So what does Vampiro do but grab a burning candle and tip it over, spilling scorching hot candle wax onto Pentagon's head?
Absolutely brutal.
Oh my god.
That's definitely a different kind of encouragement therapy than I've ever seen.
That's not encouragement therapy. That's discipline therapy. If you don't do what I want, this is what'll happen.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate. I mean, I've never been in exact situations like Pentagon, but I've been in situations maybe you could call or similar. And I'm just thankful I never got what Pentagon just got, because that is some brutal shit, man. Yeah. That is some brutal shit. And again, gotta give credit to just the aesthetics of the whole scene, between the lighting and the atmosphere, and Vampiro in the robe and the camera work focusing on the candle wax, falling on Pentagon, and Pentagon's screams is wails of agony, just really amplified. And then he tries forcing himself up, and then seeing him collapse is heartbreaking if you're all about Pentagon. And I know he has a lot of diehard fans, on social media and everything in the temple.
And rightfully so.
Oh, definitely. Oh my god, definitely. The guy's a fucking dynamo. He's amazing. And then Vampiro just saying, "You're pathetic," and leaving him there. I wonder if, because here's the thing, he leaves the candle by Pentagon, and we know all the fog and everything comes up and really just kind of shrouds everything. I wonder if it'll be like, okay, you're ready, when Pentagon's able to pick himself up and blow the candle out. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. But, just the way everything was shot and done was absolutely brilliant. I love this.
Yeah. And just the desperation and almost fear, which is weird because Cero Miedo, in Pentagon's face, though, when he's laying there and Vampiro puts the burning candle next to his face, oh my god.
Yeah, I mean, he is toughening him up. He wants to break him down and build him back up.
This is going to be one of two big things. This is either going to be Vampiro is going to break Pentagon and then mold him in his own image and become like a darker Pentagon. Or
right.
B, Pentagon is going to revolt and we're going to end up with a pure Technico-Pentagon.
See, and here's my thing, Ashton. I think both of your options have merit, but from where I'm sitting, I'd have to go option A, because this is what Pentagon signed up for. I think Pentagon would be more disappointed if his master didn't push him like this. I feel like, we're going to get a darker Pentagon, regardless of what happens. I've been saying ever since the episode where he got powerbombed through the announce table by Matanza and taken away in the ambulance, when he returns, I've called him Pentagon 2.0, maybe you'd call him Ascended Pentagon. It's just going to be a different Pentagon. But no, I do think he's going to be darker, and I do think he's still going to have Vampiro by his side, because, again, this is what he signed up for. I think this is what Pentagon, even if he can't express it right now with everything he's struggling with, this is what he wants. This is why he wanted a master in the first place. So I do think he'll be able to pick himself up, metaphorically and literally, and just get a darker edge to him. And like I said in the live reactions, I'll reiterate it here. I fear for Matanza. And I know that's a weird sentence to say aloud, especially as many times as I've said it tonight. But I'm telling you, man, Pentagon, when he comes back, he is going to be packing that heat in a major way. And Matanza better be ready, man, because Vampiro isn't playing around. When you get so irritated and disgusted with somebody for not being able to pick themselves up when they're in a wheelchair, that you pour candle wax on their skull. Like, he is going to mold him into something fierce when it's all over. This is going to be amazing.
Definitely. This is going to be something that we've never seen before in Lucha Underground. And for me to say that speaks volumes.
I mean, that sets a precedent. I mean, given what this show has done within the realm of television, within the realm of pro wrestling, whatever the end game to this is, has me absolutely enthralled, because Pentagon really is. And I've even said, in the temple, Pentagon is my number 2 guy behind Johnny Mundo. You know, the day that Johnny Mundo packs it up and calls it quits, you know, whenever that is, and he's done with Lucha Underground, Pentagon will take that number 1 spot, because he is just everything right now. Everything about the character sucks me in. His in-ring work is exceptional. Vampiro by his side just takes him to that next level. He is just so complete. In fact, I'd say he's one of the best performers just in the world of pro wrestling in general right now.
Yeah.
And the idea that he's got a storyline like this, he may very well be the next Lucha Underground champion. And considering that so far, if I'm not mistaken, we've had 4. We've had 4 because we've had Puma, Muertes, Fenix, and Matanza. Pentagon could very well be the 5th ever Lucha Underground champion. And wow, man. Damn.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you something too. And this is me really speaking honestly. I don't think anybody deserves it more than he does right now. He has just been doing so fucking well. And the crowd reactions have been so hot for him and so sincere. And his build's been organic. And he's just such a badass that if he's going to be the one to beat Matanza and he's going to be getting his run, I mean, god damn it, you take that run and you just have the time of your life with it, because I think he has earned it. And watching his development from the first season to now, what a story. I mean, because he really is. You know, and then the funny thing is, because you said something very interesting when Pentagon was laying on the floor, and you said like you could see the fear and just what a rough spot he's in. Despite the badassery and the darkness that seems inherent in Pentagon, I've realized now this guy really does get the more emotional storylines, doesn't he? Because we were really projecting in our Lucha Underground rewatch like he just wanted a friend, he just wanted some kind of companionship, and then he did Chavo, and Chavo turned on him. You know, there is a very, like, emotional and psychological dimension to this character that isn't just a cliche, oh, he's so dark, oh, he's so brutal. No, there is some intense shit going on there. And I love that we explore it, and I love that we unpack it, and not just in the sense of you and I, but just Lucha Underground in general. I mean, this is just a fascinating character, and it's one that I think really deserves to be at the apex of this promotion right now. And I think in a way he already is, but you just need the belt to go with it at this point as a formality. And I think it's only a matter of time before Pentagon is, yes, your new Lucha Underground champion.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, I don't know. I think Mill has a shot. I think, honestly, if Cage ends up winning the Gift of the Gods, I think he might have a shot, but I definitely think Pentagon is in that conversation.
I mean, to me, and I can't believe I'm saying this because it seems like such a wild contrast, but you're absolutely right. I think Pentagon and Cage right now have the greatest likelihood of being the next Lucha Underground champion, because Cage has had such a ridiculous Technico build where he seems damn near invincible. You can't count out Mill either, so I'll put Mill in the equation, but he's already had something of a title run. But I'm talking in terms of people who have never held the belt before. It definitely comes down to Pentagon and Cage.
Let's be real though, John. The only reason you want Cage to win is so that you can say that your boy lost to the eventual champion, right?
I mean, you know, not really. That didn't even really cross my mind, to be honest. I just think it's been so insane, his build.
Yeah.
You know?
No, it was a joke, but yeah.
Right. You know, and yeah, I mean, certainly, like, see, he did lose to a former world champion because that's all that could beat Johnny Mundo as world champions, and that's certainly true. But I'm just loving it. And see, can I just point out, too, with you and I even having this conversation, how fucking legit Lucha Underground is in building contenders? Like, I love that you can have multiple viable contenders for the championship going on at one time. Just unreal to me. God, I love this show so much.
Well, that being said, do we want to move on?
We can move on. High spots and low shots. Gonna make this real short and sweet. My low shot is Johnny Mundo. It's painful to do, really painful to do, but you're talking about a match that had a chance to go on to Gift of the Gods, which we all know that championship gives you a world title match if you're able to hang on to it. And Mundo didn't even qualify for the match. He lost his chance in Medallion. Cage mode through both him and Taya. It was a rough night for Johnny Mundo, but I know that he'll regroup. I know he'll bounce back, and whatever is waiting for him at Ultima Lucha 2, it will be glorious. But for now, a momentary bump in the road. He is my low shot.
Yeah, I think my low shot's got to be Angelico. I mean, he's hurt. He wasn't around to help his team defend the titles, and they ended up losing them. It's got to suck to lose a championship you weren't even able to defend.
Exactly. I completely agree. Yeah, that's rough without
Well,
question.
and not only that, but we don't know what exactly is going on with him. He could be locked up in a broom closet somewhere in Cueto's office, and we wouldn't know it.
Yeah, really. I mean, if Marty the Moth was pretty easily able to, kidnap Sexy Star,
Yeah.
I mean, clearly security isn't tight at the temple and people can get away with a lot of shit. I mean, man, yeah, I guess I'll just continue in that same vein. My high spot's Cage. Again, equally painful, but I've got to be honest. He won an Aztec Medallion, and he is on just a freaking tear right now. Really being groomed to me either for a clash with Matanza or just being the next world champion, and I do consider those two different things. But we'll see what happens. But yeah, Cage gets an Aztec Medallion. He is the third man now for Gift of the Gods 2, confirmed. And we'll see how far he can take it. But for now, he's not just a man. He's not just a machine. He is my high spot.
Yeah. I think, oh man, I really don't want to sign on to Cage being a high spot because that would be like the worst double high spot ever.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm just going to be super generic then, and I'm going to say my high spot's Ray because his team won and he got the winning pinfall and all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, and you're not wrong. I mean, he's a champion going off the air tonight. Like, that's a big deal in the temple right now, given who the champions are, given where the roster is, where the stories are going. And keep in mind, too, and that's a funny thing, right? Because I've been harping on, Joey Ryan, Castro, Cisco, like they have to win storyline, we already went over all that stuff. It still kind of fits for this team, and they're a dream team, because remember, Ray wants to keep Cueto close because of the murder of the original El Dragon Azteca. And now with a championship, Cueto's going to be keeping a closer eye on them, which probably means
not
more
only that, but
interactions.
I think honestly that Cueto might be a nominee at least for a low shot because of the fact that, like, sure, you got the titles off of the babyface team that you wanted to get them off of, but now they're right back on an even more powerful babyface team. So what really happened?
Yeah, a team that's actually expending energy gunning for your ass, or at least Ray is.
Well,
so
Ray and Azteca. I mean, Azteca wants to kill him. Ray is going to try and prevent him from doing that.
Exactly. So
Dude,
with that,
Azteca is totally Darth Vader, and Ray is Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah, and you and I have been saying that now. We've been having very interesting discussions about the whole dynamic, the exchange of just power and influence and all that stuff between El Dragon Azteca Jr. and Rey Mysterio. And now
Azteca is going to end up the top heel of this company by 2018.
That would be incredible. That would be absolutely incredible for this promotion because he has got the skills to do it. And I'll tell you, just keeping it in the context of your low shot and keeping it grounded in 2016, them being trios champions means a lot more interaction with El Jefe and also Black Lotus. So very interesting times ahead, and one that I'm glad I thought of that, before we went off the air, because, I didn't really realize the true gravity outside of this team being OP, what it meant for them to be trios champions. But yeah, it actually goes a lot deeper than just, oh, look at these legitimate guys carrying championships. It goes a lot deeper when you actually get into the narrative. So, excellent stuff by Lucha Underground. I mean, Ash, is there any concluding remarks you have about tonight's episode?
Man. First of all, before we close off, I do want to say I love that we had 2 matches tonight, just kind of breaking away from that 3-match format, because, like, I enjoy 4-match shows and 5-match shows and 6-match shows, etc., because NXT does a lot of shows where they have more matches like that, but you give me 2 really high-quality matches, and I'm just smiling from ear to ear. This was a great show. I really enjoyed this. Best show of the year, or best show of the season, I should say. In the running. I'll say in the running. I'm not going to give it that award right off the bat, but definitely in the running.
I would certainly agree. I mean, again, just an exemplary hour of television. Absolutely wonderful. I hate that we have to wait a week all over again. It's like it comes and goes so quickly.
Yeah.
Just so ephemeral, but we hang on to it as best we can. And with that said, guys, this has been Lucha Underground. This has been TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John. That's my cohort and commentary, Ashton. Guys, be sure to comment and subscribe on YouTube. Ashton, what question you have for our subscribers this week?
What happened to Angelico? And people, I know that there was an actual real injury IRL, but we're talking in kayfabe. What happened to Angelico that caused him to have to be quote unquote driven to a hospital? In other words, locked up in a Cueto closet. No, but seriously, what do you guys think is the kayfabe explanation for Angelico's absence?
Yeah, get those fan theories going down in the comments. Be sure to take that conversation over to Pweetoff, that is Pro Wrestling is taking over Facebook, where the Lucha Underground fans grow by the week. You'll be right at home there, a great group of guys. Also be sure to check out the TWitWoW Facebook page, like, share, and comment on the content there. If Facebook isn't your medium of choice, you can also check out the TWitWoW subreddit. On the TWitWoW subreddit, there you will find all of our TWitWoW content, and members of the TWitWoW subreddit can create threads of their own on all things related to pro wrestling. However, if you want the best full-on TWitWoW experience, follow both of us on Twitter. I am at John_TWitWoW. That is JOHN_TWitWoW. Ashton is at apond404. That's the letter A, pond, the body of water, POND 404. And we will see you again for our NXT review, where Elias Sampson may have played his last song because he goes one-on-one with Shinsuke Nakamura. Tune in and peace out.